session of today. The panel comprises all key stakeholders in the payment space, including a bank, a non-bank, tech firms, and of course, a regulator. So let me briefly introduce each panelist to you. Let me start with the early lady, the early regulator on the panel, Deputy Governor Madame Chanthana Neav. She's a Deputy Governor of the National Bank of Cambodia. She has extensive experience in financial supervision, banking supervision, and she now plays a very crucial role in driving the National Bank of Cambodia agenda, strategic directions on payment and settlement, and also financial innovation. And next to her right is Mr. Alexi Lane. He's co-founder and chief executive officer of Everex, the leading provider of payment technology solution. And his area of expertise includes cryptocurrency and also the application of blockchain technology to traditional financial services. And third, we have Mr. Sagar Sarbhai with us, who is currently head of government and regulatory affairs at Ripple. He's been working with various central banks and regulators in Asia Pacific and also in the Middle East. He's focusing on payment innovation and virtual currency policy. And we have the fourth panelist is Mr. Sun Se Meng. He's Vice President for Business in International Group of Singtel. He's responsible for implementing new engines of growth for Singtel Group's initiative in mobile financials, digital entertainment, and SME businesses. And last, we have Mr. Thakorn Piyapan, who is an expert in retail credit, consumer finance, and digital banking with nearly 20 years of experience. He's currently head of Krungsri Consumer Group and head of digital banking and innovation of Bank Ayudhya PCL. So without further ado, if I may start the session with hearing some thought from the financial service provider first. It's Khun Thakorn and Mr. Sun. If you could please share with us your recent initiative that have helped promote ASEAN payment connectivity, please.
Right. I'm glad that I will be the first to share because I do not have the slides. So the rest I will take on the presentation. But I guess if you see the 7 wonders, the fintech trends that the BOT just showed, I think that pretty much all the activity and initiative that we have been partners with all the other banks together with the Bank of Thailand to help promoting the connectivity and also the interop between each country as well. So for Krungsri, and I believe that all the other Thai banks as well in terms of doing a lot of cross-border initiative. We have done one, which is the remittance cross-border with Laos using the distributed ledger. We actually partner with the Ripple. Using that technology to help doing the cross-border remittance. Our first project is doing with Laos, with our jobber in oil and gas. And the second project, we did it with our counterpart in Singapore, doing the experiments on the cross-border money transfer between Bangkok and also Singapore. And we are now in the process of releasing it out from the sandbox, and it will become purely on the production. And in each country, we'll start adding more partners and adding more country, which is, I hope that Ripple can help us expanding all the relationship and partnership across in terms of cross-border. The other thing is that on the QR, which is the implementation across all of this region. But too bad that I have to start with the Japan first. Even though it's not part of the ASEAN, but I'm part of the Japanese bank, so I have to do the payment between Thailand and Japan. So we actually successfully implement and bring Thai QR and Thai tourists, if they were to go to Japan and enjoy shopping in various stores in Japan, so they can use Thai QR. And if you have time, please visit Krungsri booth downstairs. We can experiment you how it works out in this sense. So it's the real things on this one. So next will be on how we expand this into other countries as well in terms of the CLMVT as well. I think all the other Thai bank has already tapped in with the partner in each Asian country and already start seeing the expansions. So that would be the 2 or 3 key initiatives that we already have in pipelines. And I guess there could be more and more as we talk with the deputy governor from Cambodia as well. There's a lot more potential that each country can do it to each other. But importantly, we should start having our own a standard one. I think Thailand's go ahead with the Thailand QR standard, which make all of us much easier to implement and interopt among each other. And plus, it's going to be much more easier when we talk across in terms of the cross-border. And not only for the payment, it will be much easier for the remittance as well. In particular, that we have a lot of the migrant workers across on this region. With all this, it will help building a good financial inclusion and reducing the friction in costs across the region as well. That would be in a nutshell for me. Yes.
Okay, so thank you, Thakorn. So Japan is still Asia. So we're okay with starting with Japan first. Right, and then many exciting initiatives that are coming up. Mr. Sun, please, your recent initiatives.
Do you have the slides?
Yes.
So I just wanted to, coming from a telecom operators in a fintech event is actually really exciting. I think it just really shows the importance of collaborating across different partners with the banks, with the telecoms operators, obviously with the regulators. So I just wanted to showcase an example of what it means. So we launched the VR Alliance of Wallet last year, and it's a very simple idea of allowing you using your mobile wallets that you pay here in Thailand on a prompt pay. When you, let's say, travel to Singapore, you look for the Dash or the VR acceptance mark where we collaborate with Dash in Singtel, and you can pay exactly the same way. And obviously the beauty is that you can see the conversion rate. You don't have to exchange cash, you don't have to take out your wallet, you don't have to bring your cards, and for those who do not have cards, it's really fast free, and everyone has a wallet. So the whole idea that why we decided to kind of do this is Singtel Group is really a collection of, is really a group of partner telecoms across Indo-Pacific, all the way from India to Australia. So Singtel, as many of you might know, is based in Singapore. It's the #1 telecom operators in terms of market share. We also own Optus 100% in Australia, which is the #2 operator. For many of you who may not know, we actually also own significant stakes in AIS in Thailand, obviously around 30-something%, and then in Globe up to 47%, in Telkomsel around 35%, and between Airtel, India and Africa around 30%. So the good news is that actually this AIS is by market share obviously the #1 operator in Thailand, is a Thai telecom operator. And we have the privilege to really partner with AIS here. And also we partner with Globe, we partner with Telkomsel and Airtel. So it's really a pan-ASEAN kind of entities, region that we have. And we really came up with the idea to see, look, how can we service all these subscribers in a way that best benefit them. So we introduced VR. I think really thank you to BOT. And we have the previous digital minister attending our kickoff event last year. We launched the first corridor between Singapore and Thailand. Both BOT and MAS was very far-sighted, allowing telecom operators to think about how to do cross-border payment alliance. But however, and this is really a simple illustration, right? But if you look below, there are many multiple wallets in many of the markets. For those who are quite well-versed in the mobile wallet space, Indonesia recently has combined their wallets across Telkomsel and all the major banks to a Link Aja wallet. And the lead for that is our Telkomsel leadership. So the head of Link Aja was previously the head of T-Cash, which was Telkomsel. But we also have Gcash in Globe, obviously Global Pay in AIS for cross-border payment, and then Airtel Payment Bank. And other payment service provider, we work closely with now KBank, and also in Global Pay, KBank and SCB are funding sources. What I'm trying to share is really the collaboration across multiple partners, both across multiple markets and within each market. And the simple illustration is that you traveler for Singapore can buy from merchants in Thailand, and travelers from Thailand can buy from merchants in Singapore, but we are not stopping there. So we are already we have announced that we will connect with Indonesia and Malaysia. Right now, actually, we are waiting for the regulators to kind of give the go ahead. We are already connected with Link Asia and Boost. So it's a network of wallets. So VR by itself, what we are doing, we are not a wallet. We are like really a payment system network. So in the future, Indonesian can come to Thailand or go to Singapore or go to Malaysia, and Thais using Global Pay or any other wallets that are connected to us can go to these ASEAN markets and use in any of the merchant accepted by them. So the beauty is that as each of the local markets grows in their size and acceptance, it benefits everybody in the network. And once again, I want to repeat, the customer experience is very seamless. You open up your own wallet, which you do it in your home place. You just go overseas, you see the QR code, you scan it, it converts to the local currency, you decide whether you want to pay, you press confirm, and that's it. You're done. So, and you always will have your wallets with you. And we are also working with Netstar, which is a kind of merchant acquirer in Japan. So next week I will be in Haneda Airport. We will have a media event to really explain how the VR network is expanding in Japan, and wallets who are on Global Pay can go to Haneda or other Japanese merchant to use it. So this will continue to multiply because we are not going bilateral. It's really a network of mobile wallets. And really the essence of collaboration comes from that, whereby the more player join the network, it benefits everybody else. So with that, I end my time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Krungsri. Do you have a booth downstairs? This is a time to advertise. So it's very exciting. If I may ask a follow-up question, when do you think the connectivity for Singtel, if you said it's multiplying, if it's going to be to all the 10 ASEAN countries?
Yeah, so this is, I wouldn't say this is a pure Singtel initiative. So this is a separate entity, as in obviously Singtel started it. And we are talking to almost many telecom operators across the region.
Okay.
Because they have, if you think about it, in ASEAN, maybe not so much in Thailand, but in Indonesia, Philippines, and in other ASEAN countries, credit card is really uncommon. Very few people have them. Even debit card is not that common. And then in many of these markets, actually, many of them don't have a bank account. But I can assure you that everyone has a mobile phone.
Okay.
And most of them actually owns prepaid accounts. So I think most of you here will have postpaid. But actually, the majority, I'll give you an example. Indonesia is almost 95% all prepaid. I think in Thailand, it's more than half is prepaid. So a prepaid account requires what? A mobile top-up. When you top up your mobile, you can go to the counter, put money in. You can direct debit for your bank account. There are many ways to top up, and you need an account to top up. So actually, the telecom operators for the longest time has a hidden asset and a hidden gem in the ecosystem, right? And now with the proliferation of EMV code QR codes across ASEAN, so sometimes it's about riding a wave of what everybody is doing. So we saw this opportunity and we decided that we want to bring more benefits to the people in ASEAN. And once again, we are very grateful to BOT for being far-sighted last year to kind of allow that to happen. And of course, we are very cautious of all the AML, CTF, cybersecurity concerns. I come from Visa and PayPal, so we are very, very thoughtful about that.
Okay, thank you. So if I may now turn to our technology expert, Mr. Sagar, whether if you could tell us what do you think are the upcoming trends of technology that can provide promising solution for the ASEAN payment connectivity?
Sure. First of all, thank you very much, BOT, for having me here. It's my absolute pleasure and my honor to be here. Second year in a row. So I spent most of my time yesterday at the ASEAN Payments Connectivity stage downstairs. And it was amazing, the kind of initiatives that are going on. And I told myself, this is probably the best time to be in payments, especially cross-border payments. There's so much going on globally and especially within ASEAN. This is probably will be a watershed moment in the history when we look back 10 years from now. So I was thinking, what really is driving some of this innovation? Why are we seeing so many initiatives taking place? And I think in my view, I would sum it up into two mega trends that have been playing out for the past 10 years or so. The first trend is the rise in digital payments, which has been triggered by two factors. Number one, obviously, is the explosion in smartphone usage. And number two would be the ubiquity of QR codes, which has led to lower value payments becoming a reality, customers getting hungrier for lower value payments for instant payments. The second trend really is a newer trend. What we are seeing is that is being triggered by two factors. The number one factor is new infrastructure being created, driven by central banks and policymakers. We are seeing more and more central banks creating domestic real-time infrastructures. As of today, I think there are about 40 countries globally who have real-time domestic infrastructure. Number two, which is actually a very recent phenomena, is the advent of new technologies like DLT, digital assets, APIs, and so on, which has led to creation of new infrastructure. Until about 3 years ago, most of the innovation was happening on the front end, customer-facing side of things. But now we are seeing more and more innovation happening at the cross-border infrastructure level, which is the space where Ripple is focused. So again, all this creates a perfect storm for new entrants to come in, for players like Ripple to come in and partner with both incumbents and disruptors, which is why I say this is probably the most exciting times to be in payments. So this is just a summary of what I just mentioned. But really, this is not new. We actually saw this play out in the internet era, where there were a lot of players coming in, doing a lot of innovation. But there was one problem with this, at least in the internet era. So for example, if I had a Gmail account, and let's say Alexi had a Yahoo account back in the early 90s, I could not send him an email. I could only send him emails within my own network. And just to draw an analogy in cross-border payments, while the innovations and the perfect storm is creating more and more opportunities, right now what's happening is those innovations are in silos. So for example, a social media giant comes up and launches a cryptocurrency for payments. A big universal bank launches a stable coin for payments. A credit card incumbent player also enters this space. But what's really happening is there is no interoperability within these networks. A telecom giant obviously is innovating around cross-border payments. But really the future to me is in the interoperability between these different networks, which today looks something like this. While there are banking networks, there are blockchain networks, mobile money, online wallets, but these are not interoperable. And to me, really the future trend would be how do you make these networks interoperable? Now, a lot of people argue that blockchain DLT is the panacea for this problem, but I don't think even blockchain in itself will be able to solve this problem. So in a world from, let's say, 5 years from now, we will see a lot of new players entering this space of cross-border payments, but really the focus point will shift to how do you make these different networks interoperable. So this is the space where Ripple is focused on. And a few years ago, engineers from Ripple invented a protocol called the Interledger Protocol. Very few people know this, but actually Ripple invented this, but now we have gifted this to W3C, which is also the safekeeper for some of the other internet protocols. This is an open source protocol. I encourage you to go to ILP's website, download the source code, and just play with it. A lot of corporates, banks are using it for their own innovation. A couple of years ago, we did a project with the Melinda Gates Foundation where they launched a project called Moja Loop. They used ILP to connect different mobile networks in Africa to promote financial inclusion. The beauty of ILP really is that it connects different ledgers. Now, that ledger could be a plain vanilla ledger, or it could be a DLT, or a classic blockchain. But this really is something that we are betting on, that 5 years from now, when there are different networks, both incumbents and disruptors have their networks for cross-border payments, ILP could be a solution to connect those networks and make these networks interoperable. The way it is designed is the architecture is very similar to the internet model. We believe that what HTTP did to internet, ILP could do for internet of money and internet of value. And that's really the mission statement of Ripple, to create this new internet of value where money moves like information moves today across borders seamlessly, cheaply, and in real time. So that would be my initial thoughts on the trends that which have been playing out for the past 10 years, and what will happen with the focus being on interoperability over the next 5 years.
Thank you, Sagar. And we're glad to hear that interoperability is one of the things that we're trying to do with the network, because that was one of the four key principles that the governor has laid out in terms of how we drive the fintech space. So Alexi, if you could add to that fintech things, more acronyms.
Sure, thank you. And thank you for having me here. It's absolute pleasure. I'm actually happy that Sagar mentioned interoperability, because that's where Everex stands as well. And when a few years ago I joined this blockchain development movement, the first thing that clicked in my mind after quite a number of years being in payments is that that's the ultimate connector, that the blockchain can now connect different people, different countries, and that's what we should explore and develop and utilize. But the blockchain is just a technology, right? So it's still not enough. It's just a tool to connect different people, businesses, countries, banks. So what Everex is doing is working more in terms of implementation of use cases for the stable coin. And may I ask how many people here in the audience heard about this stable coin terminology? Not many. All right. Well, I'll use this opportunity quick to explain a little bit. Basically, this terminology, this word came from cryptocurrency world, where traders needed to hedge the volatility of the cryptocurrencies. But basically, it's nothing else than just another electronic version of fiat currencies, only issued on the blockchain. So Everex sees is much far than just using the stable coin, apply stable coin for in the cryptocurrency world. In fact, we don't even use it at all. We see it as the ultimate tool for cross-border settlements, for currency exchange, for merchant payments, for basically day-to-day life of our customers. And quickly here, we believe like this is what we can use now. So our clients use now. It's obviously cash. Cash is the king. In Southeast Asia, still, despite so many great solutions, so many great technologies, innovations, there's still from 70 to 80% of unbanked population who even someone has the bank account, but they may not use it. And so the forms of money are just very simple. We have cash, we have check, we have card, we have online banking. However, like Sagar mentioned before, see, we are not connected. Each bank pushes own application. Each wallet has own application. Customers are already fed up with installing app after app and trying to talk to each other. Where the stablecoin comes is that the currency actually issued by the bank or central bank, and it's actually separate. It lives outside of the wallet, and each wallet can actually connect to it. So basically, every bank or company can issue own wallet, but the currency itself functions outside of this wallet. It functions on the blockchain. That's the essence of this stable coin. And what Everex is doing is we're just one of those wallets that has a multi-currency in it. And one of our use cases is facilitating financial inclusion between Thailand and Myanmar in collaboration with the Krungsri Bank and Shui Bank. where we have over 3 million migrant workers. Most of them do not have a bank account. Even if they do have bank account, when they receive a payroll there, they cash it out immediately at ATM, cross the street and go to Hundi so they can send the money. So this is really the issue that we try to solve. So that's where I believe we stand, and we believe that more banks and central banks and regulators should explore the application of stable coins in the banking business, and we are here to help.
Oh,
Thank you.
It's good that we see potential of technology that can address a lot of existing pain points for cross-border transactions that are slow, that are costly, especially for low-value transactions. If I may now turn to Madam Deputy Governor, the only regulator in the panel, to how does the regulator support this ASEAN payment connectivity?
Okay, first, let me thank the BOT for the warm hospitality, and thank you for having me participate in this panel. So with this cross-border QR code payment, and I think it's the ASEAN initiative. So,
Oh, clicker, please. Sorry.
Okay, I'm not quite technical. Okay, this cross-border QR payment between Cambodia and Thailand. So the QR code is very popular, and it's very convenient to use it. So we met Governor Virathai, and he's talking about QR code standardization at one of our visits. So this interests us. And then when we went back, I report to my governor. And then at the bilateral, we decided to have a pilot and seek connection, the QR code payment with Thailand. So let me share with you the business model, technical flow, issue and challenges. So this is, I mentioned earlier, the vision of the ASEAN payment system integration is to establish an interoperable and the use of local currency. This is important for cross-border real-time payment by 2025. It's only 5 years to come. We will realize that we have a QR code standardization interoperable among the ASEAN 10. And this is the ASEAN vision. So, so we promote the use of local currencies that tourists, travel to Cambodia, or we coming to Thailand for medical checkup and things like that. No longer carry cash, no longer carry card, just the QR code with your telephone. Very convenient, no bulky carry all those cards and things like that anymore. So it promotes the use of local currency. You pay in your own local currency. You don't have to use dollars or any other currency besides KHR in Cambodia and Thai baht in Thailand. You don't need to carry cash anymore. No wallet, cashless. So that's very convenient for local currency. And then with this, we would enhance financial inclusion in that it can be offline and online. In the remote area, then you can use your QR code. Go to the remote side. So this would improve our financial inclusion in terms that when people try to use it, they just need a smartphone and QR and connect it to their provider, and that's it. And then it would improve efficiency, cost-effective, and convenient and secure, very resilient when you use the QR code payments. And also this would increase the value of trade, and it's value added to the trade between the two countries. So the merchant be able to get the cash, on the spot, real-time payment. So next I would, okay, so the option, there were 4 options when we look at it. There were a number of presentations when our research, and there are 4 options. It's a hub-to-hub connection, and this interlinking is between the national payment infrastructure of the two different countries. So the national clearance of Cambodia would connect it to the national clearance of Thailand. So this would take a while to do it. And then there's a closed loop payment. So we rely heavily on the payment service provider, which is very fragmented in itself. And then the most popular and quicker one for us when we discuss with BOT, the sponsoring bank model. It's the linkage between correspondent banks of each country. So BOT nominated a number of banks, and we nominated a number of banks, and the two banks would interface with each other. And this is the quicker way, and it's a pilot for us as well before we move to standardized QR code. Thailand is ahead of us in that you already have a standardized QR code, but we were so anxious to see how it worked. So with us, we just moved and connected to BOT. And since a lot of Cambodians come to Thailand, you know, for tourists as well as for medical checkup, and a lot of migrant workers, remittance is very convenient. They don't have to go to the bank or go anywhere, but then they just can remit it home, real-time settlement, the bank at home. And then the distribution ledger technology. This is at an early stage of development, and it's a peer-to-peer based without intermediary. So when we use that, and then since we don't use intermediary, bank would have to pair with the whoever provides the DRT, because otherwise they be our business. I didn't mean it, but they need to upgrade it. So next is that the business model, as I mentioned, that we have country A, Cambodia, would have all the banks, our MDI and our PSI connected to the sponsoring bank. And we have nominated a number of sponsoring banks. So in Thailand, it's the same thing, vice versa. And you can see the merchant and the customer is connected to all those banks, MDI and PSI, but they have to really connect to the sponsoring bank of each country. So next is the technical flow. It's just exactly the same, Cambodia and Thailand, and you have an API interfaced to each other, because otherwise you cannot do QR code payments. So those are the issues and challenges. For us, we have to move to standardized QR code, and this is part of the ASEAN framework as well, that all the member states need to have a standardized QR code. Hopefully, the ASEAN have not adopted, but they have prepared a framework. Suppose Thailand is the founder of standardized QR code, maybe all the ASEAN 10 would adopt this style of standardized code. And then it's a harmonized internal regulation and KYC and things like that. So ASEAN 10 will have this best international standardized QR code connected to each other. We all have to connect it to ASEAN payment network, especially for our trade. You know, as the ASEAN Community 2025, it's a free mobility, goods and services, and also mobility of the human resources. This is important. So then for us, it's financial literacy. We have to actually conduct a lot of financial literacy, financial education, awareness of our people of how to use the phone. As you know, Cambodian is like a mobile phone loving, that we have a population of 6 million. The adult population is about 10 million, but our iPhone holder is it's about 15 million, so it's double. Each of us have 2 phones. So this is very good for those who produce the smartphones. So then the AMRCFT, using the model we're doing now, sponsoring bank to sponsoring bank, the KYC is already done at the institution level. But then actually when we move forward, connecting, using blockchain and things like that, we have to really think hard in terms of regulation and technology, you know, and chips and things like that, to protect AMRCFT, because then if you are a member of the APG, they would evaluate it, whether you are compliant with them or not, and if you're not compliant, you're subject to fine, or you're being listed black, then there is no corresponding bank with you. No one would doing the work with you. So, so knowing that, we have invited, I think Kun Buncham went last year to do a presentation for us, and we invited our financial institution to participate, to learn more about cross-border QR code, not just within ourselves, but across the border. So then when it comes at the bilateral level, the two governors, the two central banks have signed an MOU that, okay, we go along with the QR code and we will make this a project successful for the two countries. So then in March, we announced the sponsoring bank. So we have selected 3 banks. So these are the 3 banks that on Cambodian side, we announced them as a sponsoring bank, Foreign Trade Bank, Exilida, and Cambodia Commercial Bank. Cambodian Commercial Bank is a subsidiary of Siam Commercial Bank. And this way we can do the connection. We can do it right away after they have connected the API. So, so many thanks and best wishes. And I hope we will work.
Thank you very much, Deputy Governor. And if I may say that we are very honored, the Bank of Thailand is very honored that to have been able to work very closely with the NBC. We've seen that even the central banks cross-border has to collaborate very closely. And with all the other players in the market, we've seen the growing trend of partnership. If I may go to Sagar and Alexi, how do you see this trend of growing, the growing partnership trend shaping the market for the payment connectivity in ASEAN?
Yeah, I think, so first of all, just the theme of the FinTech Fair, Collaboration for the Future of Finance, sums it up beautifully. I think for the future of cross-border payments, central banks, payment providers, technology vendors like Ripple, they all have to come together and collaborate for the betterment of the citizens of the country. And I think the citizens of the country really have to be spoiled for choices. You cannot have just one option for payments. They need to be spoiled for choices, and I think that's the theme we are already seeing. As I said, Ripple really is focused on connecting networks instead of operating a closed loop system. That's really what we are banking on for the future. If I may, I would like to share a quick story. So I was in Dubai recently, and I through one of our partners, I met this Filipino worker called Pablo. So Pablo moved from Manila to Dubai 10 years ago, and until very recently, he obviously has to send money from Dubai to Manila, where his family lives. Until very recently, his daily schedule would look something like this. He would work 14 hours every day, and then every Saturday, he'll spend 3 hours in the queue to go to a pawn shop to send money to his family. He would have no clue when that money will reach his family and how much money will reach the family. So that was a big pain point, and I think that also impacts the GDP, especially if 10% of the GDP is coming from cross-border payments, as in the case of Philippines. That is now changing. Thanks to the technologies and the trends that I mentioned, there are so many wallet players. There are mobile vendors who are giving them access to wallets through which they can move money across. Well, they have access to mobile app, but those wallets and those PSPs then need technology infrastructure to send money across borders. And this is where someone like Ripple comes into play. Now, the same Pablo can actually send money from Dubai to Manila in a matter of few seconds. Because for him, sending money across borders, it's not a matter of convenience or good to have. It's in certain scenarios a life or death situation. And I think that's really the theme that is playing out in broader ASEAN. Similarly, there are about 45,000 migrant workers from Thailand working in Japan. So we partnered with Siam Commercial Bank in Thailand and SBI Remit in Japan, and that the workers there can use SBI Remit account to send money to their family in Bangkok in a matter of a few seconds. So that's really what we are focused on. And as I said, Going forward, we'll have central banks issue their central bank digital currencies. We'll have players like Everex issue stable coins. We're already seeing likes of Facebook issuing Libra. Visa, MasterCard and Financial are coming into this space. And really what Ripple is focusing on is how do we connect those networks? How do we connect those different initiatives to make the world more interoperable and lead to what we call the Internet of Value?
Thank you. Alexi?
Thank you. Well, I'd like to mention two things. First of all, the partnership obviously is critically important because we're still into the innovation stage and we cannot develop ideal product and implement it immediately. It takes quite a lot of efforts and failures to actually reach the final product. That's why we should not be afraid to fail and get more ideas and try to do the pilots and tests more and more. The reason is that we should start from the customer experience first, because it doesn't matter how many great wallets or innovation or settlement time in fraction of a second. If the customer still uses cash, it won't matter. And cash in Asia especially is still a king, because everyone still rely on this, on the paper, on the banknotes, and they go, and that's why we all see those tourists who travel to Thailand, which is one of the top 10 world destinations. They're still queuing up to exchange their cash because they know better. I'll bring the cash, I'll be safe. Right, so this is one thing. The second thing is, where do we go beyond this? Exchanging cash or remittance, cross-border remittance for migrant workers, of course, it's important, but it still doesn't solve the problem, because at this time, what we have now, the payment service providers, at the end, it's still cash. So it's cash in, cash out. And like Sagar mentioned before, yes, for GDP, it's also important. There are countries that actually have quite a large number of GDP coming from the remittance, and governments and the regulators may just not know. They can estimate, but it's cash, it's untraceable. That's where the blockchain comes, because now it's cheap and fast, and you can see how much money is moving and can make a lot of implementation in this regard. But again, if the money is still in the cash, we don't see them. So how we extend this? Simple. I mean, if we introduce the cashless model, such as using stablecoin in different wallets, and then the merchant will see, oh, just to accept it, all I need to do just to install this, and and anyone in the world, the tourist, whoever, can just pay me QR code. That's where the adoption will start. And look, US and China, pretty much they're cashless now. Right? So it's cards in WeChat Pay, Alipay. This is like two largest world economies in the world. But take third and the fourth, like Germany, for example. In Europe, the still cash is there. So it's still a long way to go. So when we talk about the partnership, I believe again we should be more open for sandbox initiative, grow up this startup space, because the startups are those who see the problem. They see the problem, they talk to end users, they try to solve it on the basic level, on a grassroots level. And then it should go from the bottom to the top. That's my view. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If I could hear from the other side of the partnership, banks and non-banks like telco, whether you see the need to transform, how do you transform yourself, transform the business to take advantage of this collaboration, of this partnership?
I think we can forget that we can win over without partnership. And bank actually had to come back and talk among each other more and more, how we can survive. Because you see that we're not only competing just among the bank themselves, but you see the telco big ones penetrate the entire regions as well. We have a lot of fintechs want to come into this country. And then, but can we turn around and say welcome all of them and see what they're doing best, how we can partner with the bank. And I believe that the bank still has one of the big advantage that at this point, the trust still remain with the bank. And we have to keep that intact and make sure that we don't lose trust to the customer or depositor. And then the rest L, it will depends on what we call a technology involvement, how we can make use of those ones. But I do believe that the people still trust the bank. That's why when you're talking about the Alipay, WeChat Pay, the amount of the monies that remain in the Ant Financials or Alipay wallet is only about 2% of the entire deposit of the China market. Same with all the other banks as well. So bank still remains as a core one. However, we are lacking in terms of development of the innovations. How to be fast, how to be cheap in terms of the payment, how to be cheap and fast in terms of the remittance or money transfer. That's still a big frictions that we have to solve on this one. But we cannot solve by our own. We have to solve together. And then you brought it up in terms of the Facebook that's trying to launch a Libra, which is obviously there's one of the players that can actually execute and do it across the globe on this one. But without Facebook, there would be others anyway. There could be Ant Financial that want to come into, or you can see the other platform like Grab that's already activated Grab Pays across the regions. We have Gojek, we have Get, we have all others. These are unstoppable coming into the market. But to me, all of them are partner, not the enemy or not the competitors. They still have to rely on us, and we still have to rely on them. But let's be open. However, to be open or to be able to connect or to be able to interrupt, that's not easy. At least we have to find a standard way to communicate on this one. That's going to reduce the frictions. I'm not sure whether it's the distributed ledger, interledger, that's the ripples just explain whether or not that's going to be the way that will help solving the frictions, or whether or not in the future the stable coin will be replacements of all the hard cash and friction in terms of the payments and remittance. I do not know. But the only thing I can confirm is that the partnership is the key. And going forward, the bank will become the banking as a service. That becomes more of the partners. And then we will connect with them, I guess.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, please.
I'll provide a framework for us to think about partnerships. I think there are 4 criteria I think about as I go ahead and build different businesses within Singtel Group. So number 1 is really about the commercial arrangements. And because you're working with new stakeholders, with telcos, with the banks, and with different players, you've got to really think through the economics funding the whole systems, making sure that it has to be profitable to different stakeholders, either benefiting other use cases they have or making sure that everyone has an equitable stake in economics. So the commercial arrangement actually has some innovation at play. The second criteria to think about is the technical part. And actually the technical integrations of payment systems, I know that my colleagues here has shared about the importance of using different technology base, but with the widespread use of APIs and connectivities, I have found in the last couple of years to connect with the banks very easy and with each other very straightforward, which was a surprise to me, honestly, having come from the payment industry. So I think that is something that will continue to innovate, but not a big issue to kind of solve for. So the second part is technical. The third one that I will encourage us to really think seriously about in calibration on finance is regulation. Once again, I think BOT very visionary, and I'm very glad to hear about the Cambodia and the BOT partnership. Regulators is here to do a really important job to protect the interests of the public, the people, and as private sector players, we have to be working very hand in glove with the regulators, addressing their concern, but also more importantly, I think working alongside with them to innovate and think how to even protect the people better, also to service the people better. So that's the third criteria. But the last one actually is the most important. And I think we need to be very outward-centric, means that we must focus on the end users. So a lot of consumer techs has been growing in scale because they are fanatic about user experience, user interface, but the most important is to put the needs of the consumers front and center. I think as this, you shared about the experience of the migrant workers, really understanding their needs. And that's partially, I shared just now about the VR Wallet Alliance. To me, there's a chance of success for this because there's really a lot of mobile wallets. But more importantly, the focus has always been that I'm not asking the consumer to change their behaviors. I'm not asking the consumer to do something different. They're doing exactly what they've been used to, what they are comfortable with, and what they're happy to do so. So in order to move forward with the partnership with finance, not only you have to solve for the commercial, the technical, and also the regulation, but most importantly is how the entire organization plays the consumer experience front and center in all decision making. If not, you will build a VCR. I think many of you might still remember what is a video recorder, right? If you remember how many functions are there in a VCR, and because the people who are doing the development would love to put in function A, B, C, D, E, F, G, but most people just play stop, play, rewind, fast forward, that's it, right? So think about that. Think about the simplicity of a lot of the products that everyone uses. It's extremely difficult in an organization when there are competing demands, competing interests, and then competing resource. So the culture is really the most important in the organization to be customer-centric. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Sun. I hear a few words about regulators, right, that need to be in partnership also. Madam Chanthana, what's your policy direction to regulate this new payment solution?
Okay, the payment solution, I have a story to tell as well, and I agree with all the panelists that partnership is very important. Regulator, technical, IT, and also whoever have the fund to innovate the technology, the banks. And then we have to think in terms of the user. Our story is about Wing. How popular is Wing? We started Wing in 2008 after we did a round study tour of Africa, which is M-Pesa payments in South Africa, and then to the Philippines. So with the assistance of the Australian funding, we come up with Wing. Why we have Wing? Because at the time, Cambodian moved to more industrialized, producing garments. And we have a lot of migrant workers from the city, from the countryside into the city. And then they use an informal channel to send the money back to their parents in the countryside, and very costly and time-consuming. So we asked someone to help us. The Australian government come and support and given us a tour to a place where they have a mobile banking platform where they can remit the money. So M-Pesa is the one we attract. So we came back and Australian gave us the fund and they create this Wing for us. So with the Wing, people can remit the money using not QR but the phone. So there's a telecom company and the IT people create the application where the migrant worker can send the money home just a touch of finger. So Wing become very popular, but the cost less and more secure, but still expensive comparing to the migrant workers from the countryside standard. So then we try to issue more license. At first, how Wing started, we don't understand it so well. So Wing, you do it, and we learn from you. So it's a sort of test and learn. So perhaps it could be a sandbox. We didn't actually understand how it worked. The idea is that something for the migrant worker to send the money home timely and cheaper and reliable. That was the first idea. So we said, so we issue a letter or no objection to Wing. You can operate it, but then report to us on a quarterly basis. How are you doing? But then so they started. So it's only allowed $100 at first. And then Wing charged the fees, maybe $1 if you remit it or something like that. And people at that time own only $100 a month, and then keeping some money for themselves as well. So there's less money to send home. So then we come up, once we understand it, then we moving to like a payment services operator or provider. You must attach to a bank, because as you grow bigger, then you need a capital and some kind of fixed deposit with us to ensure that there is no problem with the end user. And then we allow them to issue agents. So they have agents, nearly 10,000 agents across the country. But the fees are high, so we issue more license to other financial services provider. Competition brought the cost down. And however, we have migrant workers in Korea. They used to send the money, it costs $200 or more to remit the money home. So what happened now, because of a branches linkage, so people work in Korea, put the money in the bank that have a branches in Cambodia, and when the money arrives in Cambodia, through switch or transfer somehow the bank to bank, and then when arriving in Cambodia, they can use Wing to remit to the countryside, and then they receive the money, and it come up only about $20 instead of $200. Now even cheaper, and now we use QR code. First only telephone application, now QR code. So QR code now even not just in the country, cross-border QR code. So improve the mobility, assist, make it convenient and countless for those people that go from country to country, not just Cambodia and Thailand, but through the 10 countries. Who knows what, in 10 years' time, we may have globalized QR from ASEAN. So this is my vision. And also, with this enabling test and learn how to do it, we have another thing is that regulatory must partner together. We must share our knowledge to make it more resilient and safe, especially for cross-border. It's okay within the country, but when you go across the country, you have to be careful with your KYC and your ARCMT, CFT, otherwise there could be problem. So regulator, bank, IT, and user all together, we will make it possible, more convenient and costless. This is my thinking, I think.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Deputy Governor. That's actually a very nice end to our session. I have very few minutes left for questions from audience. And if I may take this opportunity quickly to have a couple of survey questions, no complicated device to click, just raise your hands, traditional way. If I may ask the audience, have you ever heard of Libra? Raise your hand. So that's almost full house. Thank you. So my second question is, if and when Libra service become available, would you use them? Raise your hands. Absolutely. Oh. A lot of more skeptics than early adopters. So anyway, just a quick question. I thought I'd be remiss if we talk about payment connectivity panel and we don't mention the elephant in the room, right, Libra. How do you see, quickly, anyone, Sagar, anyone, how do you see Libra, if and when it do come to fruition, would change the payment landscape of cross-border connectivity?
Yeah. I talked about spoiling the customer for choices. Libra does exactly that. I think it's great for the industry as a whole. But of course, it's very important that Facebook manages innovation, balances innovation with risk. You talked about trust. Of course, a lot of people said yes, but I'm not sure how many people actually trust Facebook with the recent events, Cambridge Analytica and stuff like that. I have never seen in the history of the past 10 years one announcement from a private company makes so much headlines. Every regulator globally, from the US to Europe, Asia, is talking about Libra. I believe it's great for the industry and great for the digital assets industry because it will trigger new frameworks into place. So that way, it's great for the industry. How Facebook manages the risks and how central banks regulate those risks, that remains to be seen.
Okay. Please.
Okay, talking about Libra, it's surprising us. And we follow closely with Libra, but actually it's a nervous announcement for us because they're not just issuing for payment and remittance for online products, but they're going to behave like a bank, taking deposit and issuing credits. And they was talking about extending credit or make finance accessible to everybody. And this is dangerous. We know the P2P credits. P2P credits created almost financial instability in China, in the UK last year. We heard about it already. There's a loophole in it. And it is a competitor to the bank. It's not a partner, I think. Yeah. Because they cut off the bank. They cut off the bank from being intermediary. Normally, you trust the bank. You know that the KYC is there. So I'm not sure. So for us, for Cambodia, we may not allow Libra to operate in Cambodia as yet. So we watch and see how others are doing. We could be the last user because Cambodian people are very sensitive to any losses of money of their saving and things like that. I would be cautious, and I'm not sure we allow Libra, our financial institution, to connect to Libra as yet. The US has announced that they would not allow Facebook to issue Libra. There needs to be a study, and from the regulator point of view, we have to be cautious about risk and stability of our financial system. If there's no trust, then it's instability. And you know the crisis is everyone. But the bomb, our prime minister used to say, only one area when you drop a bomb. But when there's financial crisis, everyone globally affected. So we have to be very careful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can I ask a question? Would you accept or allow Libra if it would be pegged to the US dollar?
Okay. I think we have to look into it deeply. As I said, we have to be cautious, even though Cambodia is dollarized. But there's a lot of things. We see how it goes from the regulator perspective, because we are part of the ASEAN. And I don't think Libra would break our connection between the ASEAN 10. We're doing trade among our 10, and we go globally. If everyone accepted Libra, we will think about it, just like when renminbi become an asset, a reserve asset. Like before, we don't have renminbi in our reserve, but now we have renminbi in our reserve. So let's wait and see for the next 10 years how it goes.
10 years. Okay. Any other final thoughts from other panelists?
I guess that's my take is like this: the digital currency has come. It will be time for not just the fiat currency anymore, but it will be a digital currency in some form anyway. If not Libra, there will be others anyway. The China, we're trying to do the same anyway. And you see the Grab, we have the Grab players that becomes a wallet for the region, and who knows, there might be interop with the other, it's become a global. But I guess that's the point is that this is the platform that's trying to solve a world problem, which no one has ever been able to solve it before, which is the payments and remittance. But the point is that, yes, of course, we can keep blocking all this one, but are we able to solve the problem yet? Do we have the capability and efficiency way to solve the payments and remittance, and not particularly in the country, but in the regional and global level? Because if the money can flow freely at the cheaper cost, the GDP and economics will call benefit for the entire world will be much better. And every country will have more advantage in some way, somehow. But the point is that this is the global issue. Do we have solution of this one yet. If not, maybe we have to figure it out, how we can work together and solving the problem until someone else that take it over the entire world and try to overtake all the banking industry.
Just a quick add, yeah, this is very important moment or issue. It's not about the cost, actually. It's about the speed. Every merchant, every business, they actually willing to pay more to get the money faster. That's why the settlement is so critical for especially cross-border traders, because that actually evolves into the more like motion creates motion, right? And so that's where we believe that the blockchain is the perfect application for this, because it enables fast settlement. And obviously fees or no fees, that's a second question. But I'm glad we are on the same page on this.
So thank you. I think we heard that collaboration is the key, and collaboration among all the stakeholders, but for now, not Libra. It's a competitor, but collaborations with everybody, with every key stakeholders. And then I am optimistic in seeing continuing progress in this front. And I think it will be the future of payments where all the pain points are eliminated is much closer than we think. So if I thank the audience for your active participation, and join me in thanking the panelists for all the very insightful, exciting, inspiring comments. Thank you very much.